Hello. Hello. Now, actually, right now I've got you on the send on the auxes 1 and 2, so I'm going to go in, turn them up. So check audio 1, audio 2. Now, actually, I'll have the wireless down there. Check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can turn up because I can go up because I'm only on 12 o'clock on both on the aux sends. So, how are we going? Do you hear it on headset yet? Yes? Okay. Do you want me to turn up? I'll go, let's say, 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock on the master. So I'm on 2 o'clock on all of them, on the master and the center input. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm going to further a foot away from my microphone. Obviously, it'll be, the volume is different than on the aux send, so I can give you more if you need it. Audio 1, check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Audio check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Do you want more? Okay. I've got you at 2 o'clock on both, on the master and the master. Let me make sure. This is on stereo aux returns, but in aux sends, I've got you. Sends. Check 1, 2, 3, 4. No, I've got you. Let's say 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock on that, and 3 o'clock on the master. Now, if you want, I can go into the subs and try the subs out. Check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is that actually giving you more? Check 1, 2, 3. Now, I'm actually right on the microphone right now. So I'm going to turn away, obviously in level, but I can put in more level or pre. I do have pre. Check 1, 2, 3. Is that giving you more?
So when you mute your board.
Mute. So that's on now. Also the it's hot right now. So you need a out to that. You need out to that. Oh, actually, I know what. I'm going to re-switch all that. They'll give much more. So I'm sorry. You should be over hot and on that now. Then check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is it hot now? Yeah. So do you want me to turn that down now? Check 1, 2. Okay. I'm sorry. This is my. Okay, I'm bring that. And that's actually 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock on everyone right now. How's that level? Do you want a little more than that? Check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. 1 o'clock on everybody. 1 o'clock. Check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. Okay. Now what I'll do is I'm going to send. I'll sub out one. on a sec. Now I'm setting on sub 1 now, right now. Do you have it? Check 1, 2. Not at all. Not, you don't have that. Yeah, I'm sending into here. So right now you're not getting anything. You're nothing on your meter. Yeah, check 1, 2. Okay, hey, let me try that. Well, I'm going to change this, but anyway, you're getting anything right now. Check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, anything? Okay, yeah, I have it on effects, but get it on to 0 effects. But anyway, let me just turn more. 3. I'll turn that up. 3's turned up. Check 1, 2, 3. A good level. Check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Check 1, 2. 2? Yes. Okay, check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I'm only like 4 inches away. But anyways, I'm going to go up to the very forward. Okay, so I'm going to give everybody, I'm going to go to the front. I'm feeding back myself. Okay, let me just set that up. I'm on 3. Now I've got, all right, now I'm going to go up forward with the wireless mic and go on that one. Hang on. I got about an hour of all resetting it, so I'll jump on that too. Check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Obviously, I'm going to give more level on the mic. Check 1, 2, 3, and welcome. Check 1, 2, 3. Audio check. Check your levels. Are we good? All right. All right. Jeff, yeah. All right. Check, check. I'm turning this down on the power.
Testing, testing. So that drowns out the music, right?
Sounds good. Oh, but okay. So, no, I figured right here, and then I got a little more room there. That's what I figured. Over here. Right. It's a little, but you see it's an option. It's like, Faded what? 125. Maybe I should shoot the other way around. Shoot from this side. Sit on my hands right here. Sit on that one. So you can see his feet right now. All up. So you can see his feet now. That's 60 guard. 60, that's second. It's definitely crooked. You can see it. 60 and second. The next thing is you can just tell the onion is going to take you.
Check. Check. 1, 2. Audio test. Audio test. Check.
winner. No. This is just Hall of Fame, and we want to give him the full Monty. Not a quiet group. No. I got him. I will make him quiet. We go downstairs. It's a free fall. We're going to try to do a prayer. Hope you look at that. We're going to got everybody doing like 2 minutes preaching. You'll see. It's just good. I'd like to sing it. We can do that. Test. Let's take our seats, please. Let's take our seats. All right, everybody, we got a whole dinner to say hi. Everybody, take your seats. Let's go. All right, we're getting closer. Oh, my God. Rugby players. All right, everybody, let's find a seat. All right. You guys in the back, sit down. Shut up. Shh. Well, that worked. All right, everybody, listen. We got a whole bunch of dinner plans downstairs. You got a lot of time to get reacquainted. Really want to get started with this special event this evening. So please, get settled in and stop talking. All right, everybody, raise your hand if you can hear me. Raise your hand. Stop talking. There we go. Thank you. Thank you and welcome. Welcome. Freaking rugby players. Jesus. No, I tell you what, we're super excited about tonight. I think we got downstairs, we're going to have 385 folks. And, you know, this is the enthusiasm that you all bring and the venue in itself, I really appreciate and appreciate you all coming out and all your support. So tonight, we're going to be quick here, as quick as we can so we can get downstairs. But we want to honor these folks. I got the honor of kicking this thing off. So my name is Joe Rixey. I'm the chairman of the Navy Rugby Alumni Association, and I thank you all for coming tonight. This is really an incredible recognition of some people that have contributed in ways that we haven't seen. Their athletic prowess we'll see. There were coaches that did a phenomenal job, and for also to contributing to Navy rugby in ways well beyond the field of play. They dominated their sport. They've served their country admirably, and some of these folks still serve today. And they have combined significantly to the Navy Rugby Foundation and the mission that we call the Navy Rugby Alumni Association. These people are truly amazing individuals. And you're going to see some of them come up today. You're going to see that not only did they achieve on the athletic field, but what they've done behind the scenes. And their efforts have significantly contributed to men and women's rugby becoming a varsity sport. For those of you who knows Captain Pat O'Mahony. So Patty, phenomenal player. You know what he else is? He is also a Commodore. And Pat was, he's the Commodore of Destroyer Squadron 23, and he was due to receive an award today. Unfortunately, current events has precluded his travel to Annapolis, but we all know that duty calls, especially for somebody in this prestigious command. We will honor him next year. So let's get started. It is now my honor to introduce Coach Mike Flanagan. And for this crowd, this man needs no introduction, but I'm going to do it anyway because he's earned it. He coached Navy for 27 years, 13 national final, semifinal appearances, over 450 wins. He's coached 47 All-Americans. He's helped establish the Navy Rugby Foundation Fund, leading to the Prusmek Rugby Center and what you're seeing today. He was the All-American forwards coach for 8 years, and finally, he was a 2017 Navy Rugby Hall of Fame inductee. And on a personal note, he coached my 2 sons, sending them off to be infantry Marines. Coach Flanagan, the podium is yours, sir.
Wow, kind words for sure. I'm not sure that many nice things have been said about Mike Flanagan in one paragraph in a very long time. the guys there nodding their heads, yeah, true. I got a phone call a couple, 3 weeks ago. A young man asked me if I would introduce him into this Rugby Hall of Fame. And I was humbled by that. He played for me for 4 years, 2-time All-American, captain his senior year. I can tell you some rugby stories about how good he was, and I just might, except I told him I only had 30 minutes to speak. He said, "You better not." So he was one of those guys that led on the field. He led by how he played and what he did. He never gave up. He never let down. And his record as a leader shines through to this day. As a husband, a father, as a naval officer, he flies helicopters, flew helicopters. I don't know if he flies anymore. He was the skipper of the helicopter Training Squadron 8. He was air boss on the Baton. He's got some kind of a degree from the Israeli Defense Force. I don't know what he's not even Jewish to my knowledge. But all that, he exemplifies, and he exemplified when he was here, what it means to be a Navy rugby player, to be a midshipman at the Naval Academy, and then to be a Navy rugby player, and then to be an officer in the United States Navy, and then to be a citizen of the United States. He does all of those things at the highest possible level with the least amount of a braggadocio, for lack of a better word. You would never know his accomplishments. He would never tell you the things he has accomplished, the things he's done. He wouldn't say to you, "Look what I did." That's not who Rob is. He is one of those guys that his actions speak way louder than his words. I'm just incredibly proud to call him not just a player for me, but also to call him my friend. And at this time, I'd like to bring Rob Sinran up.
Well, that's going to be a tough act to follow. But Coach, thank you for the kind, and I think a little exaggerated remarks, but I do appreciate it. So, like most of you, I came to the academy not to play rugby, to play a different sport. And for me, it was lacrosse. And I was a goalie. I wasn't recruited, but the coaches knew who I was. So I quickly learned I was kind of a preferred walk-on. And after the first day of tryouts, they preferred I didn't come back. So somebody recommended I should go check out a rugby game. So I went out to Hospital Point, And after watching for 2 minutes, I realized I've played this game my entire life in the backyard with my brothers. This is just kill a guy with the ball, except with a ref. So I immediately fell in love with the physicality of it, the teamwork, the camaraderie, the seriousness of it. It was an opportunity to compete at a high level, the highest level college rugby offered, for 4 years. So, and I had an opportunity to play with some fantastic, fabulous teammates, and I'd love to recognize you guys individually, but there's just too damn many of you. So, we were on teams where we had a great back line, always there in support, put you through space, group of forwards that always set a stable platform, so we had great go-forward ball. Same forwards are fit and fast, and always there in support. And I know what you bastards from the 96 and 97 teams are thinking. They were quick to support because I was slow. Yes, I was. I'll admit that. But there are two individuals I will talk about by name. First is then Lieutenant Darren Grogan, Royal Australian Navy. He was our... Darren was our OREP, officer representative. Came out to practice in his summer white uniforms, which consisted of white shorts and a funny kangaroo outback hat. We were pretty excited because we thought we were getting an assistant coach from Australia. We quickly learned Darren spent his whole life playing Aussie rules football. He knew less about rugby than a brand new plebes did. But he became one hell of an OREP. He really looked after a lot of us. He kept us out of trouble, but I think we kind of kept him out of trouble. At the time, Darren was a young, single lieutenant with an accent living in downtown Annapolis. I don't know what can go wrong. But in all seriousness, he was a mentor, a big brother away from home for a lot of us. My dad passed away my senior year. Darren was a big help during those times, and he's a good friend today. Thanks, mate. And then, of course, last but definitely not least, Coach Flanagan. I know you've heard this publicly a few times now, but you hear it again. You taught generations of players a great game, but more importantly, taught us some lifelong lessons that made us better fathers, husbands, and have successful careers both in and out of the military. You touched on a friendship. It's been almost 30 years now, which is hard to believe. I had the opportunity to coach with Flanagan for about 2 seasons when my boys were a little younger. Gavin and Jake, they are here today, I thank you. And at the time, they got to become friends with Mike's granddaughter, Brooke. And then, of course, our wives, Colleen, who's here, thank you, and Mike's wife, Joanne, are still good friends today. I can't thank you enough for all you did for me through these years. You did tell me at one point, if I ever got orders to San Diego, I should play with Armback. And it was one of the few times I actually listened to you. And I'm glad I did, because not only I got to play competitive rugby for a couple more years, I created some lifelong friendships with people from out of the military. But it also kept me competitive so I could play all Navy and all Armed Forces rugby. And that allowed me to play with a lot of alumni who were in this audience today for a couple more years. Maybe we held on for too many years, but it was fun. So I'm honored and humbled to really be going into this Hall of Fame. It's extra special because I get to go in with a couple close friends. Pat O'Mahony, you heard, can't be here. I think for the first time he's ever put work ahead of rugby, but it is what it is. And then Joe Buenavista, who does a fantastic job every year with the dinner. And of course, the late Jared Allen, who was a dear friend of mine and one hell of a teammate. Thank you. All right, my 4 minutes and 12 seconds of fame is over. We couldn't afford Admiral Rixey for the whole event, so we got him for 3 minutes, so I'm back to the MC role. All right, so next up, we're going to bring up Coach Tom Edwards, class of 78. He played in the late 70s and then came back and coached the women's team, the first women's coach, and he had the women's team playing in the national semifinal in 3 seasons. And to introduce Tom, we have Ashley Sullivan and Gabby Bloucher from the 98, 2 stellar players on that semifinal team. Girls.
Sometimes there's a man. I won't say a hero, because what's a hero? But sometimes there's a man. Coach Tom Edwards rogered up in 1995 to lead a group of 50 young ladies who had never seen a rugby ball to a winning season that year, and then on, as Rob said, to We were the number 3 in the nation our senior year. Thanks, Tom.
Those stats in and of themselves are incredible, but what made them more incredible was that he accomplished that without ever yelling at us, without ever getting frustrated, without making us feel like crap. And let me tell you, I've coached youth rugby from U8 to U14. I haven't made it 10 minutes of a practice without yelling at my kids. So, unbelievable positive influence. He passed his love of the game on to us. That just shows you the power of what saying yes, what taking a chance on someone or a group of people, what that can lead to. So he, like I said, he passed his love of the game on to us. I have since passed it on to my kids. I have 5 kids, 4 of whom play rugby. My daughters started playing when they were 4 years old. So they conceivably could be playing for 13, 14 years before they even get to college. That's directly because of him. So I challenge you guys, everybody out there in the audience, I want you to say yes too. Go find your local youth team, volunteer to be a coach, get certified, be a ref, because if we want to grow this amazing game from the ground up, we got 10 years to the World Cup, go do your part.
We would be remiss if we didn't mention that Tom did this at a time when women had been at the Naval Academy for 20 years, only 20 years. We comprised about 10% of the brigade at this time, and our experience there was replete with opportunities to point out our differences from the boys alongside with whom we served. He did us the favor of expecting as much from us as was expected by the men on the pitch, and we owe a debt of gratitude for our lifetime of service to that for him.
So I just want to close real quick before we give the mic over to him by reading an excerpt from a letter that he wrote us. He had to transfer before our actual final Nationals appearance. So he wrote a letter to the team in, I think it was maybe the fall of '97. And it just shows you what a great person, what a great coach he is. So this is the ending. Anyway, hopefully you can now see why I'm so keen on rugby. You don't play it so you can get on TV. You usually play in front of a massive crowd of maybe 30 spectators. Most folks play it because they like the contact, the camaraderie, the whole Zen-like spirit of the game. And it is just that, a silly little fun game. Coaches don't decide the outcome, as is often the case in basketball, football, or baseball. The players on the pitch define the outcome. To me, it's just about the purest team sport you can play. It takes a team to win, and a team you are. I always knew you guys had the potential to make it to the Final Four in 3 years, but having the potential and doing it are 2 different things. You had to believe in it and you had to do it, and so you did. Now go lift some weights. It's time to start preparing. Semper Fi, Tom Edwards. P.S., by the way, I love you girls.
And you know what? We lost our train of thought here, but all hell, we done introduced him enough. Our favorite dude, Tom Edwards.
Do I look good?
It's always been about Ashley. It has. Thank you so much. And Gabby. I'm deeply humbled to be here. Thank you so much for those kind words. I need a moment. So summer of, I guess it was the spring of 2009. I was living on the East Coast at the time, about 14 years out of the military. And the Navy women were coming through on their spring break, and they were playing a team in Raleigh, the Raleigh event on very good club side. And so I decided to go see them. I had to see how this team was coming along. And they were very, very good, coached by she was 2005, Katie Ball was her name. She was an All-American 2005. She's back as a company officer and coaching the team. And, you know, between that, when you see, girls embracing the team and the love of the game and coming back and coaching, like Ashley coaches her youth teams, it just, comes full circle like that. It's pretty amazing. But anyway, they had a very good match against a good club side. And I was talking to a couple of the plebes on the sideline. They had this T-shirt that said, "Maybe women's rugby, love the legacy." And I asked them, what's the legacy? And all they could tell me was they knew that a gal named Julie had started the team in the mid-1900s, or 1990s, excuse me. Like I say, I need a moment here. And that they had, in our third year, they were third in the nation. And they were on a mission. They wanted to win that thing. They ended up coming in third again that year, unfortunately, but very, very good side. So after that match, there was a gentleman there from class of 60, Bob Osmond, who was writing a book about that team. And so he interviewed me, and we spoke on the phone a few times, and he produced a book, actually. If you reach on my table, this is the book that he wrote about Navy women's rugby, and yeah, model that thing. This is what I had to put up with. I mean, it's crazy. How do you follow acts like that? I don't know. But anyway, that book, there's a lot of white space in it. I'll be passing that around with a pen. Please feel free to make some notes or whatever. I'd appreciate any signatures you guys can do. That's my personal copy, so make sure I get it back at the end of the night, please. But yeah, those first years were rather humble. You know, we started out with, as I said, we had like 13% of the female populace of the Naval Academy playing right off the get-go. And in retrospect, I asked myself, why? These were good varsity athletes: soccer, basketball, track and field, you name it. We had some really good athletes. But why are they switching to rugby? Why are they giving that up? Sports that they had probably grown up with their entire lives. And I think it was because the women then, they had no full contact sport. I mean, the men had football, sprint football, rugby, wrestling, boxing, lacrosse. The women had watered down variants of some of those, but this was their chance to have a full contact sport and go out and get it on. And they really embraced that. So the first practices, I mean, we didn't have much in the way of sport. We weren't even a club yet. It takes 2 years, in case you didn't know, before you become a club. You're an extracurricular activity, and there's not a whole lot of support given by the academy. We didn't have a place to practice. Every day we'd go out on Hospital Point, and hopefully there was a flag, intramural company team that wasn't there that day, and we'd occupy that space. And so every day was a challenge just to find some square footage of grass to practice on. Coaching staff was me, Lieutenant John Geisen, who had never played rugby, but he picked up on it pretty quickly. And then a midshipman, Dave Gragan, who just wandered in one day early on and kind of never left. I'm not really sure what his motivation was. And I was kind of afraid to ask, truth be told. But he was very good at demonstrating things, and it freed me up to talk about things that he would demonstrate, so it was what it was. And that was it. I mean, that was our coaching staff. Every match we played that fall was an away match, because we were also in probationary status with the Virginia Rugby Union. Potomac Rugby Union hadn't even been formed yet. So nobody wanted to risk coming to us because we might fold, So every match was an away match. So it was a bit of a challenge, but we got through it. I distinctly remember about 2 days before our first match, it was against Mary Washington College, then they were at a university in Fredericksburg. And we had covered individual skills pretty good for a couple of weeks, and we knew how to scrum kind of, sort of, and we knew a little bit about lineouts. But to my horror, I discovered we haven't even talked about open play. And so what happens when you're tackled? And you know what this is leading up to, Ashley. So I'm trying to explain what a ruck was to these girls, and I see a lot of glazed faces here. They don't have a clue. Dave's not helping, and he's not demonstrating properly. And Ashley raised her hand. She says, Coach, let me get this straight. You want me, I'm running with the ball. Nobody can block for me. I understand that much. But when I get hit, you want me to voluntarily go to the ground and then let the ball go? No, I'm from Texas. We don't do that in Texas. And I mean, they'd had no clue. So we get that first match, and I talk to the coach and referee ahead of time, and I say, here's our situation. Can we go out and post scrums? And ref, when you blow the whistle, please kind of explain what was going on there, why you had to blow that whistle. And as we got through that, and then the second half, we opened up. And it was kind of, if this were an animated movie, you would have seen these little light bulbs going on over people's heads. As all of a sudden, things are making sense. And we got slaughtered, but after the match, their coach, he said, hey, I'm glad we played you today. I said, well, I'm glad we played you too, you know. He goes, no. I'm glad we played you today because we'll never beat you again. And he was absolutely right. We every time after that, we crushed them, and until the last time we played, I had to put my B-side in just to keep it sort of close. They came on so strong. One other quick story, I think I'm running out of time here, but a year or two, I'm doing something with the backs, and all of a sudden, I mean, the girls are talking trash by now. They're getting pretty good. And all of a sudden, I look over, and Mike Flanagan has got my A-side pack packing down against his D-side pack. And we push him off the mark pretty good. I mean, so Mike will deny this, yes. So he brings in his C-side pack, and we push him off the mark. And he calls up his B-side pack. And I'm like, girl, this is getting serious now. I mean, there's not a whole lot of difference between the B-side and A-side then and probably still today. And the girls dug low, and they got hard, and they bound tight. And after the scrum was over, you'd have seen like 16 sets of cleat marks dug into the turf there. The girls had dug deep, and I mean, they got moved off the mark, but it was pretty tight. You know, and Gabby, she's got this like Viking shield maiden look in her face. She's like berserker. She's all sweaty, and she gives me a little head nod, like, yeah, we're pretty badass. We're something. Anyway, I think I'm over my time limit. Thank you so much for the honor. It's very humbling. Thank you so much.
All right, next we're going to have Joe Buena Vista from the class of '87. And there was a lot of teammates volunteering to speak on Joe's behalf. Once I explained to him that it wasn't a roast, there was only one person left. But it is truly great to bring back a former coach to be part of this ceremony. John, and I'm going to butcher it, Bezeski, both played in the late 70s and then came back and coached in the mid-80s. John's coaching and playing career went beyond his time at the academy, played with the Armed Forces team and the All-Marine team for years before he retired as a lieutenant colonel. Coach?
Tommy, it's good to see you again. Congratulations. You certainly deserve it. I stand before you today sincerely honored, proud, and extremely humbled to have been asked to introduce our next inductee. And as I prepared for this honor, my wife quickly reminded me of the 3 B's. You know, be brief, be concise, and be seated. But I looked at her and said, honey, there's 4 B's. Be brief, be concise, be seated, and beat Army. Joe Buena Vista was born in March of 1964 to the son of Tom and Agnes Buena Vista. He's the oldest of 4 boys. A Navy brat, his father was actually stationed at the academy between 1960 and 63. And when his father retired to the San Francisco Bay Area, he found himself going to Terra Nova High School in Pacifica, California, where he excelled as a 3-sport athlete in football, soccer, and track, earning varsity letters in all 3 his junior and senior years. Now, the combination of those 3 sports played a pivotal role in Joe's success on the rugby pitch. He was destined for greatness. After a year of bringing up his SAT scores at the Naval Academy Prep School, I've been there, I've done that. He finally made it to the academy where he played football his plebe and youngster years. And in the spring of his youngster years, he saw the light and transitioned to rugby. He played fullback on the A side for the next 2 years, where he not only learned the game, but he blossomed and flourished at it. You see, Joe simply fell in love with the sport. Not only did he get to now run with the ball, but he got to kick it too. And it was not uncommon to see Joe drop kick the rugby ball from anywhere on the field, including midfield. And I'm sure if I would have let him, he would have been trying to do it from beyond midfield. In addition to Joe being a true athlete, his biggest trait was that of his confidence. Joe truly believed he could do anything on the pitch. And it showed in everything he did, and that's why he was the most valuable player his first class year. You see, Joe had it all. The hair, big and bushy, on top of a huge smile. The speed and aggressiveness of a determined runner, a brute of a player. The kick that could change the outcome of a close match in a heartbeat. And in the defense, he was a devastatingly strong tackler. Joe's rugby career may have gotten started at Navy, but it truly took off when he was selected for the Potomac Rugby Union select side, our all-Navy team, and then our national military team. He's played at all levels and internationally, and when he was stationed in San Diego, his club side was OMBAC, the Old Mission Beach Athletic Club, which was a three-time national championship program then. He is married to his lovely wife, Paula, and has been for 27 years. They have two children, Gianna, who's a 21 grad, and then Joseph, who's 13 in the 8th grade. He works for Morgan Stanley as a senior vice president, financial advisor, and in his spare time, he chairs the Navy Rugby Alumni Association Hall of Fame With You dinner. Because of his high school and Naval Academy accomplishments, he was inducted into the Pacifica Hall of Fame in 2003. Joe, I am proud to call you my friend and teammate. Thank you for your friendship. Thank you for staying in touch all these years. It means more to me than you'll ever know. Ladies and gentlemen, may I present our next Navy Rugby Alumni Association Hall of Fame inductee, Joe Buenavista.
Wow, thank you, Coach. Thank you, John. Thank you, Navy Rugby Alumni Association leadership and board. Thank you, family, friends, coaches, teammates, classmates. My gosh, the entire room. I've worked with you all for the last 6 to 7 years on the dinner, and I think I almost know everybody in the room. When I think about rugby, I've learned from this sport, I think personally, 3 things. First, rugby is a universal language. That's a universal passion with a great following. Rugby makes you feel young at heart, young in the mind, young in spirit. My wife, Paula, often says, it doesn't matter how old you guys get, the minute you get around each other, the word man-child is exemplified. Man-child. Honey, that's great praise. That's high praise. Second, I think that God must have created rugby as an international game on how to build fellowship through the process of violently pounding one another into the ground for 80 minutes, followed by a celebration of the game and one another through song and maybe a few beers. In fact, just a few, yes. Only a few, right, that we know of. In fact, the world would be, I think, a better place if everyone learned to maul, to ruck, to tackle, to get tackled, give a wedgie, get a wedgie, for a period of no less than 80 minutes, maybe go to the hospital, invite your ER doctor to the rugby social, and true story, one of my teammates actually did that and met his first ex-wife there, so. True story, can't write that. The point is that, I came like everyone else in the 80s to play a different sport. Football taught me to hit and how to take a hit. Rugby came along and said, yes, all that hitting is good. However, it's okay to hug it out later. Hugging is a good thing. The third and greatest lesson for me, though, comes from the all-important pronouncement, I'm with you, which is what our dinner is named for, with you. And I'm sure most of you are familiar with this term of support. With you is said over and over again on the field to let you know where your support is in case you get into trouble, or to give you an option for offense. And you, in turn, are expected to do the same immediately for your teammates. You don't just pass the ball off and take a few minutes off. And that's a note for you, son. just so you know. You keep playing, you keep going. The essential rugby phrase "with you" turns out to be just as important in life. And that brings me literally to everyone in this room, as well as my family and friends who could not be here. As a player and your dinner chairman, or even as a human being, I've been truly blessed by these words, "I'm with you." I have a large family. You know, my wife, my son, uncle, aunt, and cousins are here today from California. My daughter, class of 21, is serving in the Pacific and here in spirit. My mother, a nurse, was born and raised here in the Baltimore area and actually met my dad when he was stationed here from 60 to 63. My dad passed from COVID in January, but this was a special place for him. And Annapolis, having 3 generations now, is an incredibly special place for me. And having discovered rugby as a second breath is unbelievable. And it has been for me. And my family's always been with me. I have lifetime friends here. I've known since, grade school in the Midway Island when my dad was stationed there. Excuse me for a second. Middle school, high school, college, work. My classmates, they've all been with me. One close friend I met in middle school. We went to high school together, NAPS, Naval Academy, served together, and have kids in the same class. Again, you can't write that, and always been with me. Football teammates that I began with in my athletic journey here are here this evening, and they don't know anything about rugby, but they're here and they're with me. My rugby teammates that I finished with, class of '86, where I learned, class of '87, with whom I fought alongside, and class of '88, who picked up the yoke with me. Coaches here who taught me here at Navy, coaches I played for when I was on active duty, a coach I played for in one all-star game, and encouraged me to come back years later, presented me a jersey and said, "Joe, come on back to the program." A coach who was our family sponsor for our daughter and took our daughter in as part of his family, and then finally a coach that I serve with now on the board, have been all with me. The Navy Rugby Alumni Board, who invited me back as a dinner chairman and have put up every year with my anal tendencies, thank you, with me. And then finally all of you who have contributed to rugby at large and have come back every year for our Hall of Fame and induction. You've been with all of us. Look, there's no doubt that we're living in a challenging time. And to me, the words "I'm with you" mean that I've got you. I've got your back. I'm here to support you no matter what the circumstances are or the current environment brings with it. Our family faith teaches us that no one can have a greater love than to lay down his life for his friends. And I believe that the phrase "I'm with you" is meant to personify that kind of love in all of us for each other. So when we come together and we say earnestly and emphatically, "I'm with you," there is nothing we can't dream up, nothing we cannot make happen, and nothing we can't accomplish together. Thank you. I'm truly grateful for this honor. I'll cherish it, and I'm with you.
So now we get the awesome opportunity to recognize a team. The 1969 team truly put Navy Rugby on the map. The program is in about its 6th year of existence, and they won every game they played. They won the local championship. Every men's tournament they entered, they won. Back then, it wasn't an opportunity to compete in a national championship format, so they went as far as they could. So the 1969 team and members who played on that team, if you were class of 70, 71, and underclassmen, please, at the end of the ceremony, stay behind. We got a professional photographer. We'll get a really good picture done. But in the meantime, I'd like to bring up team captain Ed Timberlake.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this great honor. The greatest gift was bringing my classmates together, my teammates, and finding out that we're all still alive. Our class took a lot of hits, and statistically, somehow we all made it. I'm going to put 4 names in play here that really were the foundation of Navy rugby. First one was the messiah of Navy rugby, Heinz Lenz. For those of you who know him, about this tall, he was born in Berlin in 1925. His family escaped Hitler in 1940. He joined the Navy as soon as he could, and he went ashore at Normandy. If the Germans had caught him, boom. He came here with a master's from Columbia and put rugby in the brigade and taught us what we needed to know by giving us our positions and handing us a rule book. That was our coach. That's as far as it got. We looked at the New Zealand team training tapes to learn, oh, that's how they do it. So then, all of a sudden, we figured, why not? Let's do something audacious. So I went into Washington to sign us up for an intercollegiate rugby schedule. I just did it. And across the table was the head of the union and Secretary of State Russ's son, who was a big deal rugby player from Berkeley. And he said, what kind of schedule you want? And I said, oh, aggressive, Navy. And he said, okay, and here's what I'd like to do. Everybody on the other side of the academic divide mostly hated us. I'm not making that up. It was a real split where they're blaming the Warriors for the war. One of our rugby players was sent up to Harvard in an ensign uniform to recruit. They threw the table at him. So the bottom line was we had a very aggressive schedule. Now I had a problem because I came back to Navy and I was told to report to Bo Coppage, the athletic director. Now, Bo was a 1-platoon football guy, offensive, defensive tackle, and a heavyweight wrestler, and the athletic director. Bo was gone. Chet Gottschalk said something brilliant about Bo Coppage, which was to know Bo was to love him. Well, I walked in, and I don't think Bo knew Ed to love Ed, because I had to explain to him that I had just signed the U.S. Naval Academy up to an intercollegiate rugby schedule. Well, Navy captains, see, in the Marines, that's why I have brown on, we are taught at Quantico how to talk. You're a maggot. And they don't hesitate. In the Navy, though, oh no, you learn how to harumph. And you can harumph with skill. And you can harumph with a message. Captain Coppage, harumph. And he smoked. I figured the volcano god was next. And I explained what I had done, and then he goes, and on whose authority did you commit the U.S. Naval Academy to an athletic schedule? I hadn't thought that one through. Because I could have said the class is 69 and thrown everybody under the bus. No, could have said my teammates, thrown them under the bus. No, I said, why, I did. Okay, now here's why I know the fix was in, and I'll demonstrate. Because after I said my piece, and we could have gone sideways. If he had said no, rugby was wiped out, probably for a generation. Instead, he gave me a smile, but then he said something that warmed my heart. He said, the class behind you bought uniforms. If you can find them, you can wear them, win, do us proud. At that moment, the athletic director signed on Navy rugby, right there on that moment. So we put the uniform on. But the story gets even better, because we win, and we win, and we're playing this game, we're winning. We got the trophy. Now, the trophy is under my chair here. It will not see the light of day until you go down to dinner, because this is the most famous or infamous trophy in the history of Navy sports. And when you go to the table, you'll see it. But we had drank ourselves into room temperature IQ with our trophy. And what are you going to do with the trophy? Well, you give it to the Admiral. But of course, Admiral's reception. Let's go give him the trophy. Was James Calvert, call sign Lord Jim, not from the Conrad book. James Calvert had 2 silver stars, 2 bronze stars, and his submarine was in Tokyo Harbor for surrender, but he did something unique in Navy history. He wrote the book Surface at the Pole. And in that book, with a picture of the skate at the height of the Cold War, looking down on the Russians, or the Soviets at that point, it was a message. We'll take you on anywhere, anytime, or as we would say in a new generation, what do you think about that, Skippy? So, but James Calvert was a patrician. So when you make Admiral, I have a classmate's 4-star. I think they have Admiral schools. I don't know, Marine, I don't know. Navy has schools for everything. So you go to Admiral school, and they teach you how to give the look. No more harumphing. Give the look. Now, on one hand, the look is, we are not amused. Royal we. And everybody's briefed an Admiral. You take the verbal cues from the look. You go, what do you do? On the other hand, it's, oh, cheerio, chip, chip, hey, Bravo Zulu, well done, lads. Well, Admiral Calvert, who looked like the actor in Top Gun Maverick, John Hamm, he looked just like him, very possessed man. Hey, here's a trophy, Admiral. We're the class 69. Yeah. Waiting. Oh, well done, lads. Well done. Oh, good. Carry on. So that, the superintendent bought in. So all in all, we had 4 people along the way that helped us. And I'll leave you with one last gift from Eddie. Maybe you're still with it, things start to go south or something. Take a hose, mow your lawn, wet it down until you get mud. And then fall into it, take your face and rub as hard as you can until you get grass and mud in your ear and up your nose. And then someday, through the cloud of your memory, you'll go, I played rugby at Navy. So, thank you.
So next up is Sean O'Brien, class of 77. And like Joe Buenavista, there was a long list of teammates who wanted to speak in his behalf and not to roast him. But Jim Bethman has the honor to do that.
Yeah, they save the worst for last. So look, we got Sean O'Brien, or Obi as we called him, was unique to the class of 77 and unique to the rugby team at that time. Now, we put him up for consideration as an outstanding player. There's an asterisk next to that, but we're not going to talk about that today. Now, he played for 4 years. He was the right head prop, number 3. Played A-side for 3 years. He was the captain and the president of the 77 team. He was the Matt's secretary. Our 77 year, and we had some malcontents on that team, I can tell you. We still went 10-2. And we won the Azalea Festival, winning 5 matches in 2 days, which was, to me, just an amazing feat for that team. But it was Obi that always pulled us together. He was the liaison for just about everything, and he's been very involved in the class liaison with the Hall of Fame dinner and with the Rugby Alumni. So we were supposed to be the second in presentation tonight, but Obi just got here. He was much better, the guy running the team, much better than the guy running the team. And we didn't have cell phones, or, you know, I don't know how we did it, Obi. But his wife Mary is here with his 2 children, Katie and Claire. Their husbands are here. And his brother Mike is here. Many of you might know his brother from the class of 71. He was a college football coach, coached a number of teams, Boston College, NC State, but also very successful. So a couple comments with respect to Obi. I decided to go out to the classmates that played and get some comments from them, of which I'm going to present to you. A couple things. First of all, I want to say that you heard from Tom Edwards. Well, here's the guy that recruited Tom Edwards to rugby, Sean O'Brien. At the time, he recruited Tom to play battalion rugby and then to play club rugby. And he promised Tom that he would be a breath of fresh air when compared to wrestling. I think it was right. And look what that has meant now to Navy rugby. Sean O'Brien. So Corky Gardner said, Obi recruited practically the entire 18th company. No one was exempt, including Tom Hogan from the class of 79 that went on to be a future rugby team president. He was tough to say no to. He was unbelievable on the pitch, dynamic, great rugger, always steady, always consistent, and what I'd say a consummate player in the prop position. Dan Olivier said, rugby with my classmates was the most fun I ever had in any sport, and OB was a key member of that team. Chris Murray stated, he always led by example, was actively involved in all phases of the game throughout his 4-year career. And Sean always played with the laws, the true spirit and true integrity of the game. As a team captain, his unruffled demeanor led to really good on-field decisions throughout a match, as well as his composed deportment, keeping us usually in pretty good stead with the referees, which, again, those of you new 77, was not an easy task. Now, Sandy Sanderson said, when we told him that OB was being inducted in the Hall of Fame, said, that makes my heart sore. OB, we're not sure the relationship you had with Sandy when he was on the team, but now as a team sport, you know, we needed one of our own to step up, assume internal leadership, and take responsibility. Obi was always the guy to step into the breach. Always made things happen. Despite the unwritten rule, never volunteer, he was the guy volunteering to coordinate the games, coordinate the hotels, coordinate the transportation, most importantly, coordinate the after party. And as Mike Work suggested back in the 70s, Obi was the glue in the class, always ensured we had a keg for the party. That's how we got elected president. I can't believe we got anywhere with our mobile phones. So Obi was recognized along with the sport of Lieutenant John Browning at the time, who was our officer rep, for ensuring the club program status, despite the desires of many of the academy officials in that 77 time frame. And there may have been an after party or two that kind of threw the club status in jeopardy. It might have been the Elephant Walk at the Townsend State Party. Might have been the Chesapeake Club Rugby Party. But I digress. Obi stepped in, he saved the club and saved the club status for many of those midshipmen behind us in the later classes. But through his vigorous and steadfast play, his solid and strong leadership, and love of Navy rugby, he ensured our success in the heartbeat of the sport at the Naval Academy, and that it would remain alive for future midshipmen who would play and benefit from the unique team spirit and the rugby sport experience. And now it's a varsity sport, which is pretty damn awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, it's great pleasure and admiration I introduce my teammate and classmate on this special day, Sean O.B. O'Brien.
Great, thank you. Thank you all. It's truly a privilege and an honor to be part of the Navy Rugby Alumni Association Hall of Fame, something I never thought about. I will tell you that Jim took almost all my stuff, so that's good news. I would just say that as a club, we loved playing, we loved each other. We were invincible at times, or at least we thought we were. And as Jim kind of mentioned, we usually had at least one Animal House story on a road trip. So it's been really fun to connect again. I was recruited by Ted Surface, class of '74, my own company, as a plebe, no coercion. Mike Langley, I don't know if you're here, Mike. Mike brought me up to A-side in my youngster year, and I thank you for that, Mike. That was something truly special. I worked for Tim O'Hagan, as Jim said, as the match secretary, but when I was in second class, I recruited Bill Yeager for the class of 78, who became their president, and then in the class of 79, Bill Hogan, who was a plebe in my company, actually in my squad, and there was no coercion there. He really wanted to come. So I really want to thank the NRAA plank holders, those people that started this thing. If you look around and people I saw just a couple of speakers, by the way, I got caught in traffic. I moved in scrums faster than in traffic. Think about it. Think we're all together, and all these memories we're bringing back because of what those gentlemen did at the start. And they had their vision, and they put it into action, and I think they deserve a round of applause for that. As Jim mentioned, our coaches and our officer reps did much to keep the game alive. Ours was John Browning. The other one was Lieutenant Commander Scotty Bates. Maybe the guys in 69 might remember what he flew. He flew in an F-8. I don't know if any of you other guys know what that was. So I also want to thank John Vorndick. I don't know if John's here, but John sponsored so many people on the rugby club as their sponsor. One was Bill Yeager, who I already mentioned, who was a good friend of mine, probably one of my best friends. Bill and I were lucky that we got 2 tours later on, once in VX1 down at Pax River, and the other one was out in Japan. I convinced Bill to come on out and be my CSO, and we got to run the patrol operations for 5th and 7th Fleet, CTF 72, CTF 57, and I can't tell you the number of times we were either just in the office or we were at a party with the Japanese and look at each other going, who the hell would put us in charge of anything? So I want to thank as Jim said, my wife Mary's there in the back, and my daughters Katie and Claire, their husbands Paul and Zach, and my grandson Leo. I also want to thank and I love you all, thank you very much. I want to thank my brother Michael, who came all the way into town. He represented my other brothers and sisters. Jim already mentioned Tommy, Denny, Terry, Mary Beth, and Mike. And I still remember the day that the time that I told my dad that I was going to play rugby, and he said, "You've lost your mind." Anyway, this will be the last. This will be my last thing, just because I said Jim took everything. I do want to thank all the coaches that came along afterwards: Coach Flanagan, Coach Hickey, Coach Edwards, Coach Matt. I think that's wonderful what you guys have done. Anyway, talking about losing your mind, when I was a plebe, my first semester I got a solid C+, which for me is really good. After that, I started playing rugby, and I had 3 semesters where I was about the 2-0 line, but kind of dipped below it like 3 times in a row. And if you don't know, you will get an invitation to the academic board if that happens to you. So I went to the academic board. I went there with my company officer, Lieutenant Noah Bryan, who I'm sure some of you have heard about. Noah Bryan became a vice admiral, and his brother was a vice admiral too. And during the academic board, he said, "Hey, this guy's really worth keeping." So I got Noah Bryan back. I served under him about 4 different times, and he was my change of command speaker at my squadron and my change of command or my retirement speaker. So very much look up to the Ryan brothers. Anyway, at the academic board, they said, "All right, Mr. O'Brien, how about you go to summer school? What do you think?" I said, "That sounds like a great idea." I'm kind of paraphrasing. Those aren't the right words. But so I just said, "Yes, sir." And then we were getting ready to about facing go out of here, and then somewhere from the back, like way back there, some Marine colonel that had not said one thing during the entire proceedings, and his godlike voice said, "Mr. O'Brien, if you don't study, we're not going to let you play rugby anymore." Jeez, little piece. So I got better, and It was probably the best motivational speech I ever had. I truly want to thank NRAA and all my classmates and the teammates and my company mates for everything they did to get me to this position. I am truly thankful. I feel truly blessed and truly honored, so thank you very much.
All right, I don't know who set the order, but for the second consecutive year, we made the inductees' family and friends who traveled the farthest wait the longest, but for a good reason. The late Jared Allen, class 97, I'm going to steal your thunder for 1 second, Coach. When I played at on-back, I played with two flankers who went on to play for the national team. Jared Allen would have competed with any one of them when he was fully fit. So, Coach Flanagan.
Here we go again. Jared Allen. He was a stud. He was 6'3", 225 pounds of mean. He could play 8, he could play 7. He was just a phenomenal athlete. He put this team on his back on more than one occasion, and we won a lot of games because of that young man's ability. Couple stories that I'll share with you. First one speaks to how he feels about himself. We're right here at the Naval Academy at the All-American Trials, and they do this thing in the trials called the possibles, probables. So you pick a team, and then you pick 30 other guys to play for probably 10 spots on the final team. So hence, possibles versus probables. So we announce the squads, and Jared doesn't hear his name. So he corners me and says, "Coach, I got summer training. I got to get out of here. Do you mind if I leave right now?" I said, "Yes. You can't go anywhere. You made the team." He said, "I'm not in the game." I said, "No kidding, pal. We've seen you play. We know what you can do. All right? You're in. You stay right here. Don't go anywhere. We need you." And the look in his eye was amazed. Second story. This is no evil, Jared. We're playing Fordham University in the round of the playoffs, first round. And we were pretty good in Fordham. This is Fordham. Great school, probably. Not very good. And I think we might have had, if we didn't have 100 on them, we were pretty close. Well, okay, maybe we got that high. And some of you were saying, "Wow, that's a lot of points. Can't you trade out some guys?" Well, at this period of the game of rugby, when you started, you stayed. So if you were the 15 that started, you stayed, you played the whole 80. You didn't come off. There was no substitutions. If you got hurt and came off, your team played a man down. If 2 guys got hurt, you played 2 men down. Your 15 was your 15 for that day. So that's why Jared was still on. So I'm watching the video, I'm watching the game, and Fordham has a scrum. Now, how they got a scrum, I have no idea. And they won it. How they won it, I have no idea. And the guy, the number 8, picks it up and breaks around Jared, and he runs right by him and scores in the corner. And that's Fordham's 5 points. I'm like, what the hell? What, are you not paying attention anymore? 127, or whatever that was. So the camera was at the other side, so we're on one side, the camera's on the other, so now I can see why he didn't get off the scrum. The scrum breaks up, somebody else balls out, Jared breaks up, and he drops his mouthpiece. So he bends over to pick up his mouthpiece. And when he picked up his mouthpiece, the guy ran by him and scored. He looked up to like, what just happened? Don't worry about it, buddy. It'll be okay. He was a privilege to coach. He would have been a 3-time All-American, except the wedding got in his way, I think. And I was invited to the wedding, and I was on the All-American staff, so since rugby in my life seems to come first, used to. I got an ex-wife, believe me, she'll attest to that. There's no one, I don't know if I've ever coached an athlete that was as gifted, and I've been blessed to coach some pretty talented men, and many of them are in this room. But I don't know if anyone was as gifted as that young man. They had the combination of speed and grace and strength. And when you see the t-shirts that say elegant violence, Jared was that elegant violence. He was elegant when he played. When you watched him play, you saw poetry in the athleticism. He was just that kind of a guy. And he's missed so much today. I think about him and a few other guys pretty often about, where I am on my life and where they should be and where they are and the tragedy of it all. So when Rob called and said, would you speak on Jared's behalf, I couldn't not do it. He was just such a special player for me. That said, I want to call up Jagan and Riker for a second. You come join me for a second? So now the story here. There seems to be a game that my players have played with me over the years where they steal the jerseys. Well, who thought that Jared would play that game? Not me. So in the process of this, we're reaching out to some of his old friends and teammates, and since he played All-Star Rugby, there's a couple guys in here, Jeff Reese and Brian Donnelly, who played with Jared back in the day, became good mates. They did a lot of good things together, played a lot of hard rugby together, roommates on some travel teams. Well, Jared gave Jeff one of his game jerseys, which he stole from me. So when this came about, Jeff called Rob and said, I want to do something with this. So what we decided to do was give this jersey, which was your dad's, to you two guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You look just like him. I got to look twice. It's scary. And now I would like to invite Danielle to come out. You take all the time you need.
Thank you. Thank you. Such an honor to accept this award on behalf of the Allen family. We have Jared's mom, Jared's dad, Jared's brothers, Jared's sister, Jared's niece and nephew, Jared's aunt, Jared's cousins in the house today to be here for this award, and many of his great friends, and especially Riker and Jagan. Riker is 22 and Jagan is 20. And their dad passed when Riker was 2.5 and Jagan was 8 months. Jared loved playing rugby. And when I met him, I met rugby. Jared was not accepted as much by the football team. He came to play football and a friend said, "You should try rugby. You look like a rugby player." And he did, and he fell in love with the sport. And the rugby family welcomed him and loved him and accepted him and saw his athletic ability. Jared did not want to give up the playing rugby when we got married, and somehow he was good at working the system, and he got the Navy to sponsor him to go train with the USA Rugby team, and the USA Rugby team wanted him. So we moved to California during flight school and did the training with the USA Rugby team. At one of the scrimmages, Jared separated his shoulder, and I was about 7 months pregnant then, and so I took him to the hospital, And Jared had rugby in him, like he had that toughness, and he was extreme in some of his ways. And he wanted me to go all natural, no epidural, which was silly because the Navy paid for everything. But he was insisting, and so I took him to the hospital, and the ER nurse came out, triage nurse came and looked at me, looked at him, looked at me, and she came to me, and I said, no, it's not me, it's him. And his shoulder, something's wrong. And so we go in, she's assessing his pain, and I think he rated it at an 8 or something. And she's like, oh, I can help you with that, I can give you some morphine. And I said, oh, no, 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 no. He wants to go all natural. That's a true story. He looked at me differently, and he said, you can have as many epidurals as you want. So, Jared would be so proud of this night. He would be honored, and he loved playing rugby. He loved his teammates, he loved his coaches, and he loved his country. Our family is forever grateful for this award and this night. God bless you for your kindness, and we will not forget it.
Couple quick admin notes before we make the cocktail hour on time this year, I note, and not 30 minutes late. If you do have a plaque, I have the box if you want it, so to help you take it home. The 1969 team, please stay behind, or if you played on that team, no matter the class, stay behind for a picture. And then I think you know where the elevator is, or there's stairs in the back to head down for the cocktail hour. So thank you very much.
No, the people who played on our team our first class year, we brought a few ringers in. Yeah. Thank you. Where are we going? Back there? Yeah. All right.
Where does he want us? Should I hold the plaque?
Yeah. And Danielle. We want to take a picture.
How are you gonna leave? It's fine.
Oh, yeah, that's a very tall.
It's not that heavy. Leave it to the ladies to figure that out.